Hello, and thank you for watching this weather update for Cotton Incorporated, brought to you by Agrible, the makers of Morning Farm Report. My name is Eric Snodgrass, and I'm a senior atmospheric scientist and co-founder of Agrible. Let's examine last week's rainfall by watching an animation of Doppler radar images since last Thursday. Before we start, let's make sure we understand what we're watching. Now, the United States has 160 Doppler radars in its NextRad radar network, and all of the radar data collected over the last week are stitched together in this image. The color scale on the right indicates the intensity of the precipitation. Essentially, the farther up the scale you go, the more intense the rainfall. When it's not raining, though, the radars are put into what is called clear air mode, where the sensitivity is set so high that it can see a lot of non-meteorological phenomenon. See these large blue and light green blobs near the radars in Wisconsin? The radar echoes are not from rain. They're actually made as the radar is scanning bugs in the lower atmosphere. So with that knowledge, let's start the animation. Focusing on the southeastern United States, Tropical Storm Julia skirted along the coast at the end of last week, bringing higher surf and lighter rain to fields in Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. Things dried out for a few days before a front swept through the area, lifting the air, creating more clouds and precipitation. A persistent onshore flow in North Carolina kept fields very, very wet over the last couple of days, as rain bands repeatedly soaked the area. Widely scattered showers and thunderstorms on the 16th, 17th, and 18th brought rain into fields in Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia, while fields along the Mississippi River from Louisiana north to Memphis were hit with kind of hit-or-miss storms until the 17th, when a large cluster of storms finally passed through that area. Fields in Texas saw a lot of rain leading up to last weekend. These fields, by the way, have been very wet over the last 30 days, as there's been a persistent flow of Gulf moisture that keeps fueling rounds of thunderstorms. Well, finally, even Southern California and Arizona saw widely scattered showers and storms as the remnants of Tropical Storm Payne pushed through the Baja and into the southwest. But if it wasn't raining, it was hot and humid, and as we can see, there were a lot of bugs in the evening sky. So this is how it all adds up. Over the last week, we're looking here at a map that shows you the percent of normal precipitation for the last 7 days. Some regions in North Carolina saw nearly 10 inches of rain. That's well over 600% of average, while the western part of the state is actually covered with brown lawns as it's been very dry. Coastal South Carolina and Georgia were very wet as well, while interior sections are still struggling with drought. So this is really a story of the haves and the have-nots. While fields in Alabama and Mississippi received rains, as did fields closer to Memphis. But in Texas, the southeastern side of the state's been very, very dry, while the Panhandle region received multiple rounds of storms. I focus so much on rainfall here since we're approaching harvest, and these rains impact both field workability and the maturity of the crop. Well, what does the weather hold for us over the next few days? Thankfully, tropical cyclone activity is not a threat, as Tropical Storm Karl is forecast to remain offshore and curve off to the north and northeast and likely pass right near Bermuda. But focus here on North Carolina. Look at the persistent onshore flow. Those winds will bring high moisture content air into the fields across North Carolina and South Carolina to finish this week, keeping coastal regions quite wet. Elsewhere, a large ridge in the jet stream keeps the south oppressively hot and humid, and the return flow from the Gulf of Mexico pushes a lot of moisture into Texas. This animation shows the accumulation of rain through the weekend, and it is clear fields in the Carolinas are not done with rainfall this week. Fields in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Arkansas may see some widely scattered storms through the weekend, but next week is looking quite a bit wetter. Before we discuss that, fields in Texas will likely see widely scattered storms too, as the southeasterly flow fuels these pop-up thunderstorms that we could see over the next few days. Well, here's the oppressive heat that I mentioned. Notice how mid and upper 90s are expected throughout the south through this weekend, with only the Carolinas being not as hot, as there will be a lot of cloud cover with that rainfall over the next few days. But, as I mentioned, relief is coming. In last week's video, I talked about how the end of this month will see a big shift in temperatures. Well, by Monday, September 26th, an upper-level trough in the jet stream finally arrives, and the temperatures behind the cold front will be several degrees below average, which is what this map shows, differences from normal for September 26th. We can clearly see that the middle section of the United States will finally see some relief from the heat that it's been experiencing. But with that front, more rain is expected, And here is NOAA's 7-day precipitation outlook. It will be wet through the central United States, and there will be some beneficial rains that return to southeastern Texas. But we got to keep an eye on this precipitation as we head toward harvest. Well, thank you for watching this weather update, and as always, we at Agrible aim to provide the most timely and useful weather forecast information so as to help you plan your operations. Thank you.